I'm getting concerned about myself here because I have been putting together and messing about with a Screamer killer, and it's been just in time for Games Workshop to put out one of their articles about the history of Warhammer, showing off the new Screamer killer and the old one. And I used to not be a particular fan of the old one, but for some reason that seems to have changed, and I don't know why. I have in the past been perhaps a little uncomplimentary when it comes to older Tyranid models, because there's a lot of fun, silly, goofy stuff going on, and I don't think at the time they were meant to be particularly silly or goofy, but especially as times have changed, as sculpting techniques have changed, as just the ability to put more detail into more places on different parts of models, that now the materials we have actually show all of that wonderful work going in. It's definitely felt like Tyranids can be very, very scary, whereas the older ones never struck me as being all that terrifying. I mean, the fact is that when you compare the new Screamer killer, weird though it is, given that, well, that's a lot of claws and not a lot of things to grab people, it's still pretty terrifying. It's still kind of impressive that they took something that I previously saw as being quite goofy and not particularly threatening and made this an absolute nightmare, a hulking monstrosity that does genuinely look like he could really mess up your day. Compare that to this guy and it's a little bit of a contrast. It's a bit of a change for me, if I'm honest. I tend to look at this one, or at least I used to, and think, okay, but why? I mean, for a long time to me, it just kind of looked like someone was doing this. Quite possibly a very unfair interpretation of the model, but I have to admit that's sort of what it put me in mind of. The thing is, why did I even do that stupid? Like, I'm gonna have to edit in another pair of Photoshop another pair of arms in just to make that work, and it's totally not worth it for that jog. It's absolutely not worth it. I really don't help myself when it comes to recording these stupid videos. Also, you know what? It doesn't just look like that. Kind of very strong vibes of that one auntie that you never wanted a hug from as a kid, who would, like, inexorably move towards you, arms outstretched, with the sort of expression that says, I'm doing this because it looks to everyone else as though I like you. What I'm actually wanting to do is crush your spine because I hate your existence. It has that kind of vibe to it, which, to be fair, that is pretty scary. The thing is now, I don't know, it's kind of grown on me. You all had an auntie like that, right? It wasn't just me. It can't have just been, no, I thought you did. I thought you did. Anyway, the thing is now, it's really grown on me for some reason. I don't actually know why that is, because nothing's changed. The model hasn't changed. I don't think looking at the new one and then going back to the old one has made me think, you know what, maybe the old one is way cooler than I remember. No, it's just sort of really grown on me. And it would be far easier to ignore if it was just a case of deciding, you know what, the Screamer killer initially looked goofy, but now I'm all for it. But that's not what's happened. See, in this article, they also show off multiple older Tyranid models, and I kind of like these now as well, and I don't know why or what's changed. Perhaps I'm getting old, perhaps a screw's come loose and it's just rattling around in there in the empty void that is my head. I mean, to be honest, that's how it feels most days, but that's probably not accurate. Maybe it's just I'm developing an appreciation for older models where previously I just was never that fussed by them. But I'd love to know why. Because for reasons I can't fully explain, I would actually really like to paint one of these now, even though it looks like it would be kind of a nightmare to paint. Although, then again, have to admit, in terms of painting, boy, times have changed. Good lord. When you look at the painting on these, it is very much a product of its time, much like the models themselves, obviously. But, I mean, seeing these with, like, a modern paint job? I don't know. I feel like that would be really, really fun. You might have to lose the green bases, though. I know there are some of you who like green bases, but no. No. The fact is that right now, at this point, I would really like to see them do some sort of run of these older, well out of production Tyranid models, and I feel like I would genuinely pick a few up, but I could not tell you why to save my life. There is a strange nostalgia that's overtaken me for these things, and I think it is largely down to just, there's a charm to them that I don't know you necessarily get with modern miniatures. I can't even really pinpoint where it's happened or why. Generally speaking, I'm pretty happy with newer stuff. I mean, God knows I've got lots of newer miniatures and very few old miniatures because I just prefer the aesthetic of the newer stuff, and there's so many advantages when it comes to materials, when it comes to details, when it comes to the sculpts themselves. But for some reason, things that I didn't interact with, things that were not part of my play experience when I started playing 40k, are starting to catch my eye, and that's concerning, but at the same time, I can't be the only one, right? I can't be the only one. I feel like there's got to be space in this massive lineup of miniatures, whereby proper, like, made-to-order runs of the really old stuff. I'm not talking like once every 4 years you can buy some more Steel Legion. No, I'm talking about really properly revisiting the older, more like nostalgia-filled miniatures, because there's got to be space for it. There's got to be a market for it. There's got to be people out there who, whilst they love what Games Workshop does now, has a real like care and appreciation for what they used to do. And I'm kind of alarmed to find myself falling into that same mindset, despite previously not being that much of a fan. Anyway, it seems highly unlikely that would actually happen, but it would be kind of nice if it did. The question is, do you love these older miniatures? Have you always loved them? Are you a more recent convert to the older stuff, like as what I am becoming, apparently? Almost against my will, frankly. There's plenty of other miniatures that I already want. Let's not add the 30 to 40-year-old back catalogue of the rest of what Games Workshop has made to it. Jesus Christ. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. As a side note, this setup with this camera is not staying. It's not a good camera, it's an old phone because mine broke. And I tell you what, oh, she's warm. Oh shit, you could cook an egg on that. That's not good. I'd better stop. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Normal service will resume shortly once this horrendous mess is sorted. There's the usual array of affiliate links in the description down below, which, I mean, if you use those to support the channel, you get something, I get something, and this whole catastrophe can continue rolling forwards inexorably towards oblivion. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.